All right, everyone. Another day, another cringe leftoid attempted curse. Apparently, leftoids that didn't get the memo about how the Jezebel, curse with the Etsy witches is not actual magic. They didn't get the memo. Now they're trying to curse ice with Montezuma's revenge. And this term, by the way, has two different meanings. We'll get into the historical side. I speak in this video as an expert on the occult, on magic, spiritual topics, religion, and history in general. I like to study these things. Again, I've edited over 400 works on the subject. You do have to read them in order to edit them. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. So let me lay it out. Link in the description, not archived, of course. You should watch this video because it's so fucking funny. You've got these far leftoids that don't want people illegally in the country to be processed, dancing around their little, incense burner and pretending to invoke, I guess, the ancient curse of Montezuma. There are so many problems with this. I'll try to lay them out in a fairly linear order. Problem number one, there aren't any records you could probably relate to determine what kind of specific rituals you would have at that particular time period. So that's problem number one. So dancing around a fire and, hitting the little drum. Okay, you're having a little party. I'm sure that there were some drugs involved there as well. I've got a kitty down here. Yes, indeed, I got an Athena cap. But she doesn't want to get up on my lap and be seen on video. So that's problem number one, the ritual itself. Problem number two is that most of these people are just fluff bunnies anyway, so they're not firing off energetic intent or anything like that. They're simply dancing around and airing their grievances. Perfectly fine protest. They're not getting in anyone's way or anything like that. They're not being violent, so that's good, but it's not really useful. Third, we don't know that Montezuma ever actually cursed anyone. It appears to be effectively apocryphal legend more than anything else. So we know that Montezuma was not a fan of the people invading the area. We know that. And so obviously he cursed them in the sense like I would curse you out, like say fuck you or something like that. Of course he was pissed. His kingdom's being invaded and shit. The fourth problem, though, is probably the most glaring. And I don't know that these people understand the goddamn terrible irony of them attempting to cast Montezuma's curse on ICE officials. Who were the conquistadors? By and large, Spaniards. Hispanics, you idiot. So, and by the way, most of the population of Central and South America is at least part Spaniard and or Portuguese. They're Hispanic individuals. Who's going to get cursed with the diarrhea? Because that's the second meaning of Montezuma's revenge is dysentery. The idea was that the troops got dysentery because Montezuma cursed them, basically. So it sort of, it became sort of a colloquial usage, used still to this day. Somebody goes to Mexico and then they start puking and shitting everywhere. Oh my God, I've got Montezuma's revenge. No, you've got a bacteria in your system. You've gotten sick. It wasn't the result of a possibly non-existent ancient curse. Unless you're a conquistador, then you have to worry, I suppose. So are you cursing the entire population of Central and South America? That seems to be exactly the opposite of what you should be doing if you're concerned about people being deported from the country. I'm just saying, it is hilariously and tragically ironic, but it doesn't really confuse me. It doesn't surprise me in the least, because these people never cracked open a history book that wasn't prescribed by a Marxist professor. Since they don't know anything about history, they think, oh, well, here's this brown man who lived, hundreds of years ago, and he cursed some people. I never cracked open a book that told me, hey, that may not have even happened, because I'm not actually interested in the topic. I just want to be edgy. I want to screw with the government, and I think that banging my gong and dancing around the fire is going to cause some sort of effect. None of these people understand magic. Is it possible to use magic to cause other people harm? Yes, absolutely. It absolutely is. But you got to know what you're doing. If you don't understand anything about history, anything about ritualism, again, what are you supposed to do? You don't even know that you're basing this on an authentic curse. It's apocryphal. It's non-canonical. We haven't established that it even happened. We know that there's a disease that's named after it, but there were outbreaks of this disease contemporary to the time. Guess what? It's called people used to relatively sterile water and usually added alcohol to it in order to make sure there were no baddies floating around in it, did not understand bacteriology, in the 1500s. And so they were drinking from local water sources that had contagion in it that their bodies weren't used to. Didn't necessarily affect the local people as much. They also call it, like in India, they call it Delhi belly. Delhi belly is there are pathogens in especially the water, but also sometimes in the food, that Westerners don't have any real resistance to because they have not encountered them regularly. The same is true when people from Europe came to the Americas. They brought along with them diseases that the native population was not used to. Now, I do not believe in the whole smallpox blanket mythology. I believe that it was genuinely inadvertent because these people didn't understand germ theory very well. They still thought of miasmic theory as the right one. But they spread and they did kill a lot of people. Millions of people died because there was no resistance to that particular pathogen, which had developed after people had already entered the continent and begun to make settlements and stuff. Same is true with Montezuma's revenge. So if you want to curse the nations of Spain and Portugal, and most of the Latin American population, this is what you would do if you think that it's a real curse. Not cursing some ice facility where supposedly all the dudes that live there are like, Scandinavian and English, like extract Nazis and stuff like that. They're not going to be affected by it because they don't descend from the conquistadors. That's called magic. I found this so funny. When I saw this, several people sent me the link. Definitely watch the video. Again, link in the description. It's one of the funniest things that you'll see all day. Unfortunately, the legacy media is not reporting on this so widely, probably because it doesn't involve Charlie Kirk. Notice this trend lately as well. That's about all. Peace out.